Welcome to the episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez. Hoping you guys had an amazing, beautiful, lovely, safe weekend with your loved ones. Hopefully you guys, got your fix in terms of, college basketball. I was never a college basketball kind of guy. Recently been, kind of turned on to it a little bit, but, that's basically what's on TV nowadays. No, I'm just kidding. It's pretty damn entertaining, especially, for you betting folks out there. It seems like the 1, 2nd, 3rd, 4th seeds, a lot of you people were expecting dogs to, get you some money, but unfortunately that was not the case. This is actually the first time in college basketball, one of the first times in college basketball history that, you didn't really get your shocker, like a Cinderella story kind of thing. But we are still young. We are down to our Elite 16. What a noob, right? No, to our Sweet 16. So, we're basically there. A lot of good teams out there. Hope you guys are enjoying a lot of awesome college hoops. But those who are here for wrestling, obviously, we are building up to WrestleMania, guys. We got 26 days until our Super Bowl, to our March Madness, to the World Series, to the Stanley Cup. WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, Nevada. I can't wait to get into it. Can't wait to, watch it. Can't wait to share my feelings. Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say in terms of, the shows of shows that is WrestleMania. It's, come to think of it, it's kind of crazy to think that, the Super Bowl, obviously the NFL is predominantly, in American culture. All around the world, wrestling, WWE, WrestleMania is like on if you ask everybody around the world, if you had a sample size, like if it's like a, nice little snowball, what is it? Oh, dang it, I learned this in research, and my communications professor would hate me right now. But anyways, you ask about 100 people, from 100 different countries, and, about the Super Bowl, you'd probably get like maybe, I would say, less than 10% of people being like, you know what, I'd rather watch the Super Bowl than watch WWE WrestleMania, and which is kind of crazy, but that's, obviously WWE going major worldwide, especially with this deal on Netflix. So, if you're not a wrestling fan, make sure you dig your teeth into it, give it a shot. I would give it a shot 1,010%. So, first and foremost, listen to this guy, your favorite wrestling fan, live every Monday night, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time on the GSMC Sports Network, GSMC Podcasting Network on YouTube. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show so you guys get some cool notifications when we go live with our shows. All right, so without further ado, we have a pretty loaded show today. We're going to talk about some WWE Monday Night RAW. We're going to talk about SmackDown. We're going to talk about WWE Evolve. I have my top 10 women who are basically going to make their way up into the main roster in a matter of time. Can't wait to see that happen. In our fourth segment, we got Rob Van Dam, the ECW legend. Could have been something bigger than he was in WWE. And I'm not trying to, crap on, Rob Van Dam at all. But mistakes were made during his career, and he could have been so much better. He could have been such a huge wrestling icon. Obviously he is a WWE Hall of Famer. But, the way his kind of life went down after, getting busted in possession of marijuana, it was, kind of a downhill spree from there. We'll get into it in our fourth segment. In our fifth segment, we have St. Paddy's Day talk. Obviously, St. Patrick's Day was a week away. So those obviously, happy late St. Patrick's Day. We're going to talk about wrestlers who are in danger of missing, WrestleMania, the grandest stage of them all. We'll get into it. But first and foremost, of course, I want to remind you guys to go ahead and hit up that tips and donations link. Also hit up that super chat. What if you got a burning question or hot take in terms of the world of professional wrestling? We are all ears. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we're dying to know. We're eager to find out how you guys feel about the subject matter. We want to make sure that you guys feel like your voice is part of the mix, so don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat. And if you really want to make sure your comment, question, or concern gets addressed on air, why not use that super chat button? Also, it's a great way to support the channel. Support all these amazing, passionate podcasters who definitely love 1,010% to entertain you guys, to give you guys 1,010% absolutely free free sports content, no subscriptions. Well, obviously subscribe to the channel, but you don't have to, ESPN Plus, all that other stuff. You don't have, it's absolutely free. Why not? Hit that subscribe button. What do you got to lose? Plus, it's, going toward a great cause. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. We are obviously, your support makes all the difference. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's get this party started. Send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome. And together we will make sure this podcast is bigger, better, and stronger than ever. Once again, if the super chat is not your thing, go ahead and hit up that tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Just remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show because Eric said so. I'm just kidding. No, obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin reference. I don't know if I butchered that or not, but just kidding. No, definitely want to make sure you guys, like, subscribe, follow the show so we can talk about some awesome wrestling content all the time. Drop your thoughts inside the comment, even when the videos are published. Can't wait to get back to you guys 1,010%. I am your favorite wrestling fan. I feel like I'm forcing that on you guys, Make me feel loved. I'm just kidding. No. Let's go and start on to some WWE Monday Night RAW talk. So, like I said, we are 26 days away from the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania, going down in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. So, first and foremost, we got John Cena. John Cena coming out. Looking like a hollowed shell of himself. I am absolutely 1,010% so happy that the fans in, Glasgow, Scotland, they basically said, F you Cena, F you Cena, F you Cena. At first, I kind of got a little upset that they were blocking it out. I was like, okay, so this Netflix era of WWE is basically like, we're going to step up to PG-13, maybe a little bit more. Like, I felt like a tease, I felt like a tease that they were ultimately going to, kind of get a little bit more edgier, kind of, you've kind of seen the wrestlers on air, kind of, kind of not exposed, kind of, let the fans know truly how they feel based on nature, based on language that isn't, like, fully, natural to, like, basically using strong curse words. And a lot of the times, a lot of, fans are against that. Obviously, you see kids in the crowd. So, what better yet than letting your kid become a WWE wrestling fan? If, you hear foul language and stuff like that, what happens. But, kind of what Nick Khan said once when, WWE was, people were putting them on hot seat, basically saying how, WWE Netflix, the era is going to be an absolute, like, bombshell. We don't want to fall into the same, kind of a dumpster fire that ultimately led WCW to the ground. We want to maintain, our values. We want to maintain a family audience. We want to maintain basically a future generations of kids tuning into the show. And you're not going to get that with, foul language or, blood or, obviously AEW with like, syringes to the mouth and stuff like that. But I was kind of happy that it wasn't blurred out, but that's just the WWE Attitude Era fan in me. But, I thought it was cool. John Cena right away basically said, you guys' life is absolutely sad. You guys have nothing to be proud of. I put a little kid on spot. I crushed his hopes and dreams, and it was posted all over social media. And guess what? You guys loved it. And, he's right. He's right 1,010%. Something that John Cena is doing really well with his character turn is that, the fans have always kind of, not always, but, I went to a WWE No Mercy event back in 2016. and he was fighting. I think he was fighting Roman Reigns, and then no, damn it, it was another PLE. But anyways, he was fighting Roman Reigns, and the fans started chanting like, "Who cares?" They're like, who cares? Like, let's go Cena." Then people would be like, "Who cares? Let's go Roman." And we would be, I was watching these two wrestlers kind of go at it, giving it their all, obviously 1,010%. And, just hearing the fans kind of get into it, obviously Roman Reigns being forced down the WWE Universe's throat by Vince McMahon, which was pretty bad. The only thing that, kind of brought Roman Reigns to superstardom, and a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but I feel like 1,010% Roman Reigns didn't fully become the wrestler, didn't fully become an icon in terms of the wrestling world until he did turn heel, and he speared the crap out of the Fiend, and won the Universal Championship, and he stuck his claim in WWE, and that's something that a lot of fans ultimately did not like. Well, some fans did, and I'm definitely 1,010% that guy that I was like, Roman should have turned heel a long time ago. It was actually kind of funny. CM Punk said in an interview that he wanted to see Roman Reigns go and give the middle finger to the fans, basically being like, hey, you don't like me? Screw you. So now we're kind of seeing this persona of John Cena kind of faltering to the same, kind of into the same habits. And, this heel turn, it's working. I like it. I thought, I kind of put on my big boy pants a little bit. I kind of got into my, philosophical, I was like, okay, on the episode of SmackDown, the episode of Raw, that John Cena was going to address the WWE Universe after attacking the WWE champion Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber. I kind of put on my my persuasion hat, and I want to see how this guy checks all the boxes of Aristotle's methods of persuasion, ethos, pathos, logos. And he did 1,010%. At the end of the promo, I was like, you know what, this works. And John Cena, how he's loved by the fans, and now how he is trying to be, I still feel like 1,010% fans are into him. I do. I do feel like, fans are going to ride and die with John Cena because this is his farewell tour. 1,010%. He said he was, once when he brought the spinner belt back, that a lot of people kind of thought he was stupid, called him dumb. Which is, kind of crazy because I kind of did too. But then you saw The Rock came back. And then when The Rock came back and replaced the WWE Championship with what you see it as of now, it's kind of crazy how that's, like an oxymoron. How, you kind of have that irony that, John Cena, he had that spinning belt that a lot of people did not like. And I'm one of those people. And, I heard according to reports backstage, that a lot of wrestling fans and a lot of wrestlers kind of thought it made it look like a toy. Like what John Cena was ultimately trying to, trying to force the philosophy down the throats of the WWE Universe on Monday Night Raw, and it's true. It did kind of look like a toy. And he says he's going to ruin WrestleMania. He's going to ruin wrestling. He's going to ruin wrestling for not just the wrestlers, for not just the fans, but for absolutely everyone. He wants to retire with the belt. Makes me. I'm kind of at this point. Obviously, Cody Rhodes came out and said a few things after, but I feel like John Cena really needs to. I feel like he needs to win. I feel like he needs to beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Sorry, it's those who live in Southern California feel my drift here. Whenever it was 87 degrees today. That's crazy. And I'm getting sweat in my eye. Hope you guys enjoy this show. The GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast broadcasts some dude drying off his eyes with his shirt. So yeah, make sure you like and subscribe to the show. But anyways, Cody Rhodes came out, and I was happy to see that because when he came out on SmackDown and he said he did not want to face John Cena, this former John Cena, he's a little, this little B that rhymes with witch. I kind of thought it was a little bit, kind of demeaning to John Cena. But now that he basically acknowledges the heel turn that John Cena is, he says, you're not sad, you're not angry, you're not any of that. Guess what? You're you're a dangerous version of John Cena that none of us, absolutely none of us in the WWE universe, the locker room, WWE personnel, the fans ever saw coming. So that's, I'm definitely happy he kind of put that put that John Cena out there. Once again, kind of doing his due diligence and being that babyface champion, kind of stacking the odds against him. But I got to be honest, when Cody Rhodes came out, he looked super happy. He looked like, not like he was like, okay, I'm going to lose the belt to Cena and I'm going to go on like a 1 month vacation. But who's The Rock's next guy going to be? Because when John Cena, he's booked for Saturday night's main event. A lot of people are kind of contemplating him at Backlash taking on Randy Orton. And then Randy Orton wins the championship, becoming the 15th time world champion. But that definitely could happen. I, for one, personally, I really don't see a reason why Cody Rhodes should retain. I feel like at WrestleMania you're going to see somebody get involved, and I feel like that somebody will be The Rock's next pawn, his next guy, and then John Cena is going to maybe John Cena kind of has a redemption story. Every villain kind of has one. Every misunderstood villain has one. Obviously, John Cena posting Cesar Romero's Joker on Twitter, basically, saying that, sometimes you kind of have to be the bad guy too. And then sometimes you don't need outside approval, when you kind of have your stuff down. So, I honestly don't know what's going to happen at WrestleMania. So, which is good. 26 days away. So I can't wait to see what happens with that. Next, we have A-Town Down Under taking on an honorary tag team that formed only for tonight. I hope only for tonight. But then again, Jey Uso, I love Jey Uso. I'm not totally against what Jey Uso's doing in his singles career. WWE Raw, they need a stable tag team division, and right now their tag team division is absolute. It's doggy doo doo. It sucks. It's horrible. It's horrible. 1,010%. And, I love Gunther as the World Heavyweight Champion, and I know a lot of people are really into Jey Uso, but he kind of might be that, that flavor of the month kind of thing. I don't know, obviously he teamed up with his brother Jimmy. They took down A-Town Down Under. Gunther in the sneak attack, you saw Jey Uso miss the spear. On SmackDown, you saw him miss that over-the-top rope flip. And it just, obviously they're mistakes, and I hate using the word botches because, obviously these wrestlers put a lot on the line in terms of their health and all that. But, it was, didn't really paint a really good picture of what Jey Uso is or what he will be in terms of, being the face of WWE Monday Night Raw with the World Heavyweight Championship. Maybe he might find a way to go to SmackDown, presented by the USA Network, and then maybe you see the WWE champion John Cena, when he retires with it. Then you see something go down on Monday Night Raw. I'm not too sure. But, Jey Uso, like I said, 1,010% respect him. But as the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, taking the strap off of Gunther, it's... I honestly, I don't want to see it. And, and it sucks because I know how Jey Uso, he won the Royal Rumble. He's been working his arse off. I personally don't think he's WWE World Heavyweight Championship material. And, I'm not trying to rub anybody the wrong way or anything like that. In the future, I feel like maybe this Royal Rumble win was a year overdue. I feel like Triple H was a little wedged here. I feel like he was a little, in between a rock and a hard place to be like, okay, we took all year building up Jey Uso as a character, building up this main event Jey Uso, everybody, the yeet and stuff like that when he comes out, and I'm not trying to dog on WWE. It feels like, the way that he is loved and the way that he gets such a huge ovation from the fans, and they get into the whole yeeting and stuff like that. I feel like maybe that's the reason why they're putting the belt on him. But there's other qualities that I feel like Jey Uso still kind of needs to work on. I feel like he can cut a promo. He can cut a promo, but doing this whole thing about nobody believed in me and they said I couldn't do it. He's been lingering on that for about like 2 or 3 months right now. So I don't know. It's something like I said. This is a match that it's been building up since Saturday night's main event, and on Monday Night Raw next week he's taking on Jimmy Uso, Gunther. So hopefully something will come in fruition from there. El Grande Americano made his debut in WWE. The Spirit of Americano. I definitely love 1010% how LWO, Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio were kind of upset at Chad Gable basically being like, hey man, you're a real jackass for doing this. But I get it. I like that they're doing something new with Chad Gable. Obviously, Chad Gable was a huge sensational talent in terms of the world of professional wrestling. When WWE brings in a lot of new talent, they go through Gable first. They have to make, by analyzing the matches they have with Chad Gable, definitely shows a lot of potential. Definitely shows whether if it's worth keeping a star on the WWE Raw roster. But this whole Grande Americano thing, I didn't want them to, take this thing. Like, for me, I feel like this is like Chad Gable's last chance. And I don't know if you guys understand that. He had everything, with American Alpha, with, him and Jason Jordan, phenomenal tag team, but due to a lot of, frequent injuries, Jason Jordan was, forced to retire. And then you had Alpha Academy, with Tozawa, Dupree, Otis, and that kind of turned into a joke. American Made, who was basically made to put the Wyatt Six over with Bo Dallas getting injured in the process. And you haven't seen the Wyatt Six on, so basically it's like, okay, why did we destroy the credibility of the Creed brothers, Ivy Nile and Chad Gable? I feel like Chad Gable has gotten the short end of the stick a long time ago. I feel like this is kind of Chad Gable's last chance to kind of be somebody in WWE. To be able to put yourself into a spot where you could challenge for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, where you can challenge for the United States Championship. WWE Championship, I don't really see that happening. I feel like you got the big guns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. You have all those guys up there. And then the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, I feel like is up in the air. I feel like it is up in the air. Obviously, it is a secondary title. It falls right under the WWE Championship. So there's a possibility that Chad Gable could definitely do something with this character that could, propel him into something, better. More of a standard dominant role in the storylines in terms of WWE. We had the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Raquel Rodriguez losing to Lyra Valkyria. A nice clean roll up. Liv Morgan obviously attacks at the end, and then Bayley comes with the save. I kind of thought this storyline over and over again, and I really did not have Bayley making the save. I thought it would be Becky. I thought Becky would come in, help Lyra Valkyria. They teased it on social media, being the Irish last kickers, being the Celtic Warriors, or like a tag team, and it didn't happen. And so I feel like they are kind of saving Becky for like a special occasion. I know in August, heading toward SummerSlam, there's going to be like a PLE in Paris where they are going to stop by, Ireland, Dublin. So maybe that's when she'll make a return. But, I don't see Becky Lynch making it back to WWE just in time for WrestleMania. Next, we have, Jimmy Uso basically, telling Jey Uso that, hey, you're in your own head, man. He was explaining the botches to Miss Spear, obviously, the top rope lead, basically saying that he can't beat Gunther. He's going to need that guy who won the Royal Rumble to ultimately help him and to, kind of give him some motivation in beating Gunther at WrestleMania. We had, by the way, Jimmy Uso slapped the crap out of Gunther backstage, and it looked surprising. Gunther kind of looked upset. He was like, gotta go along with it. gotta go. Don't lose your cool. I'm just kidding. No, but no, it was cool. It was, it was a nice little, cutting edge kind of thing with a big Jim with that big, bam, Gunther. Where you at? Ooh, I'm just kidding. No, moving on. We had the Women's World Heavyweight Championship signing. Iyo Sky obviously wants to take on Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley does not. No, Bianca. Bianca does not want to take on Rhea Ripley and Iyo Sky in the match. Rhea Ripley saying that she wants her rematch. And I kind of knew it was going to come down to this. But obviously, backstage, you found out from Adam Pearce, a general manager of Monday Night Raw, that, you're going to get Rhea, Iyo next week for the WWE World's Women's Heavyweight Championship, with the special guest referee being Bianca Belair. Which is, we all know what's going to happen. Bianca Belair, she's gonna try to call, she's gonna call the match down the middle up until she doesn't. Both girls are gonna end up fighting. Adam Pearce is going to blame Bianca not being objective, and you'll be like, hey, thanks for, just because that, guess what? You lost your chance at a one-on-one with Iyo Sky. Rhea Ripley will be implemented into the WWE Women's World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania. Bam, boom, see ya, wouldn't want to be. Dragon Lee takes on Grande Americano. It was an interesting match, but Grande Americano picks up the win in his debut in WWE. I thought it was kind of funny how when they introduced him, how he was from the Gulf of America. And a lot of people were like, because, but that's something that's neither here nor there. But a lot of people thinking that changing the name from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America is kind of stupid. So it kind of plays into that, Chad Gable being the Americano, becoming Lucha Libre, and, once again, Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee backstage calling him, you're acting like a real jackass right now. So I thought that was kind of funny. CM Punk comes out eagerly awaiting Rollins and Roman Reigns to sign that contract, but, obviously to no avail. Comes out to hype up the crowd in Glasgow. Basically, they do their due diligence there. In our main event, we had the WWE Intercontinental Championship match between Penta and Cero Miedo taking on the defending champion Braun Breaker, which ended into the disqualification thanks to the Judgment Day, and then they attacked after. Finn Balor obviously had a chair. It looked like he was going to strike Dominic Mysterio, which would have made for a way better ending to, how it ended. Penta, poor Penta, losing his chance at the WWE Intercontinental Championship match, but maybe we might get a triple threat match. It feels like triple threat matches are flirting all over this WrestleMania, card. We might get Penta, Breaker, and Finn Balor in a triple threat match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. So, it was a good episode. At the end of the episode, you had the Judgment Day standing on top, which shows that WWE is not, stepping on the brakes with this Judgment Day storyline. There's going to be a new character, obviously, and I feel like Finn Balor will suffer the consequences of this new character being added. Time after time, I'm like, what, they should probably add like someone like Bronson Reed, which would be pretty badass. And Bronson Reed kind of needs that backup, kind of needs that, someone who joins the Judgment Day needs to revamp it, needs to be something new, something tasty, something that ultimately that it's going to be shocking. I feel like it's going to be shocking. It's going to be someone that's going to be worthy of, challenging Jey Uso for that World Heavyweight Championship after WrestleMania. Obviously, spoiler alert, I'm just kidding. No, pretty sure everybody knows that Jey Uso will probably dethrone the Ring General Gunther at WrestleMania. Imagine if Jey Uso loses. That'd be crazy. That would be crazy. I gotta be honest. Alright guys, so hey, do not go anywhere. We talked about WWE Monday Night Raw. Friday Night SmackDown was equally an amazing show, and we're going to talk about it. Bologna, Italy, which was pretty badass. So we're going to talk about this. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 25 seconds. So hey, do not go absolutely anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcasting Network on your YouTube. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show so you guys can get some notifications when I go live and publish some new awesome wrestling material. Okay, so, we talk about everything on this podcast, all the action inside and outside the ring, backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the dramas, all the fan conspiracy theories that we absolutely love drawing up time and time again. We talk about, WWE superstars, AEW, the New Japan Professional Wrestling, Ring of Honor. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show, 1,010%. That means contract signings, contract negotiations, extensions, inactive statuses, injury updates amongst superstars. So why not become bigger, better, more of an efficient wrestling fan by, subscribing to the show so we can have some awesome stuff to talk about. Also, make sure you guys hit up those comments. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Whether you guys have a burning question or a hot take in terms of the world of professional wrestling, make sure you guys hit up that super chat. Already been, trying to get something off your chest. If you've been dying, if you've been wanting to share something with your friends, but you realize that they're not wrestling fans. So when you talk about wrestling to them, they're like, oh, isn't that stuff fake? You're like, no, it's not fake. It means a lot to us. John Cena just broke our hearts. PTSD. I'm just kidding. Moving on. So don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat. And if you really want to make sure your comment, question, or concern gets noticed on air. Sorry, I got too worked up there. Make sure you guys in that little chat box hit up that $sign, which guarantees anything you guys put inside that chat box is going to be featured, talked about, maybe even debated about on the show. Something that juicy could ultimately take place of a segment. We could talk about it, have a good time, and yeah. It's a great way to support the channel. We have a lot of amazing, enthusiastic, charismatic, amazing podcasters on the GSMC Sports Network who want to give you guys all the amazing sports content that you guys love so damn much. And guess what? It's absolutely free. So Superman, punch that like and subscribe button. Do not wait. I'll give you the Eric Rodriguez guarantee that you will never, ever regret subscribing to such an amazing sports network who want to make sure you guys are fully sports satisfied. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. Your support makes all the difference. So let's keep this party going. Send in those super chats and those super stickers because you guys are super awesome, and together we will make sure this podcast is the best wrestling podcast in the damn media. So make sure you guys support the channel. Like, subscribe, super chats, let's do it. Once again, if the super chat is not your thing, go ahead and hit up that tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Like I said, just make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Also, here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010% of the time. But it's inevitable in terms of talking sports. There's going to be some disagreements. There's going to be some criticisms. There's going to ultimately be some conflicting ideologies in terms of anything basketball, baseball, football, which we offer on this podcast. But on this podcast, professional wrestling, that's what it's all about, baby. Conspiracy theories. You give me a conspiracy theory. You tell me what's going to happen. I give you mine. We mesh a little bit. We'll talk about it. We'll have fun. But at the end of the day, we're both wrestling fans. And at the end of the day, we're going to be Family family, close family, like bloodline family. So yeah, be a part of this GSMC Sports Network bloodline. Yeah, subscribe to the show. All right, so without further ado, let's go and talk about some WWE SmackDown Live. Hasn't been called SmackDown Live in quite some time, but we are live in Bologna. I want to say Bologna because, you know, the sandwich meat. Bologna, and I'm sorry for those who are listening or who are watching from, you know, outside of the United States, looking at me butcher this name, and you're like, dude, this uncultured swine. I'm just kidding. No, you know, but let's talk about it. So SmackDown started out. We had the Apex Predator Randy Orton come out, and then, you know, ready to open up, talk about, you know, he was, you know, kind of speak on the mic, but then we had Kevin Owens come out basically saying that, hey man, I was wrong. You didn't deserve that. Basically, like, Randy, don't RKO me or don't pump me in the head at WrestleMania, which we probably will be, you know. And he said it, you know, went from Owens fight to B Owens B, which put a smile on my face. I thought that was actually kind of funny. I thought that was pretty awesome. You know, Kevin Owens once again reinstating the fact that Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn deserved that beating that he gave them, but Randy did not. 1,010%. But Randy, he's not buying into that 2-bit apology that Kevin Owens was offering on WWE SmackDown. We're gonna get a match at WrestleMania. I'm hoping. But like, you know, like I said, this is the WWE Attitude Era fan in me. I want to see a stipulation. I want to see something. Like, you know, someone with you know, ambulance match. That would be pretty cool. We haven't seen an ambulance match in WWE. God, it's been some time. I think last time was NXT. Ridge Holland and Duke Hudson? No. Ridge Holland and Andre Chase, I think it was. That was the last ambulance match we had in WWE. So that'd be pretty cool. I want to see that. We have the match already written in stone at WrestleMania 41. I'm excited to see it. Can't wait. Moving on. We have a tag team match. We have Damian Priest teaming up with Jimmy Uso. Obviously, before Damian Priest even made it to the ring, it was intercepted by Shinsuke Nakamura, the former WWE United States champion. And by the way, his United States Championship run, can we all just agree that it was an absolute waste of time? And, you know, I feel like, and it sucks for Shin, because he's an amazing competitor, obviously, competed in NOAH, being all over, you know, New Japan Professional Wrestling and stuff like that. You know, it was a complete waste of time. And it sucks because I feel like once when he came in, he kind of had a different technique, a different style, just this different overall dark persona, you know, of himself. And then, you know, only to be featured in matches where, you know, he would spit green mess, you know, win, you know, where you win by, you know, by technicality or like something cheating or something like that. And it made him look ultimately weak. And you took the belt off LA Knight just to ultimately kind of put it back on him, which, you know, I'm not hating on LA Knight by all means. I feel like at this point, the way the WWE United States Championship picture has like shaped itself, you know, you had, you know, Andrade and Melo go at it for 6 matches, whoop-de-freaking-do, 7 matches or whatever. And, you know, you had, you know, a rising star, the Legado del Fantasma leader, Santos Escobar, who probably, you know, I feel like he has more to offer than what WWE is ultimately kind of stating. And then, you know, the whole Jacob Fatu thing and the whole Solo Sikoa. The WWE United States title picture has been kind of lackluster. You know, it's kind of made a mockery of because, you know, you don't really, you know, it is a mid-card title. And when you see a mid-card title in terms of WWE, you know, the Intercontinental Championship, the title, you don't really see it as a mid-card title, although it is. But the United States Championship, you see the people competing for it, and you're like, yeah, those guys will never win a WWE Championship. And, you know, that kind of sucks. that's terrible. That's awful for booking, because much like a lot of people, a lot of wrestling fans agree that the WWE Intercontinental Championship is like the stepping stone to becoming, something better, something bigger. You're going to be a WWE champion. And then the United States Championship is more like, you're going to win it, maybe have it for a couple of months, but then ultimately lose it. You're never going to be a champion. You're never going to represent the brand. You're never going to be the face of SmackDown or Raw. Maybe push some time back in NXT. I feel like the NXT champion is more prestigious than the United States Championship, which ultimately I feel like that should be the case. But right now, Shawn Spears, man, that NXT North American champion, looking stronger than the LA Knight. Like I said, I'm not crapping on the LA Knight. I'm just overall kind of frustrated with the overall production of this United States Championship, picture. You basically had LA Knight, and you had Logan Paul first, and then you had LA Knight, and then you had basically everybody cycle around challenge for, LA Knight to lose after loss after loss after loss. And then he loses it to Shinsuke Nakamura in a match that was like, why? Right off the bat, only for him to get the champion. I don't know. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's just me. Maybe, I'm just, getting a little bit too sentimental, a little bit, oversensitive about the United States Championship, because a lot of people, who are the former WWE United States champions, who's really kind of made a difference, I liked it when Kevin Owens was the champion. I thought that was pretty badass. I thought that was pretty cool. Dean Ambrose, I loved it when he held the title. But right now, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's in trouble. A lot of people don't see it that way, because I feel like the WWE Championship picture is so like out of their league and stuff like that, which I feel like should not be the case. Maybe we might get a shocker with WWE, with Money in the Bank, because our last Money in the Bank was wasted just to kind of, fuel fire into the CM Punk, Drew McIntyre feud. So, maybe we might get something different. Who knows? All right. Anyways, Drew McIntyre and Shinsuke Nakamura attacked Damian Priest before the match. After the match, Damian Priest, they picked up the victory. Drew McIntyre gets upset, owns Damian Priest. Damian Priest absolutely looks helpless. He looks so weak right now, which I don't really, maybe it's kind of building up for him to win, but I feel like he's kind of being too weak here. He kind of looks a little weak. I feel like these next couple of weeks heading towards SmackDown, he owes Drew McIntyre a knuckle sandwich or something. The LA Knight, wants to watch Braun Strowman's back. You had that promo backstage. LA Knight obviously did not know that the match later on between him and Jacob Fatu would be for the number one contendership. So, LA Knight, full babyface. We're not going to get a heel LA Knight anytime soon, which is, it is what it is. It is what it is. But if he did turn heel, I feel like maybe it would do wonders for the United States Championship picture on SmackDown. But, it is what it is. Next, we have a mic'd up moment between Tiffany Stratton, the WWE Women's Champion, taking on Charlotte Flair. I definitely love how Charlotte, she's basically, I feel like with every promo, with every, attack, during the match or after the match or backstage or in the ring, I feel like Charlotte Flair is kind of using this time ultimately to prove, or trying to show Tiffany Stratton the ropes of how to be, that full-blown WWE Women's Champion. Because right now, and I've talked about it before on this podcast before, Tiffany Stratton, I'm not, I don't see her as a face or a baby face or as a heel or anything like that. I feel like she does kind of lackluster a little bit. But she does need to learn. Obviously, who better to learn under than Charlotte Flair? I love the attitude that Charlotte Flair is still ultimately thinking that she is the, and she is. She's still the, she could still be the face of WWE. Will she dethrone Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania? I'm not too sure. Right now, I'm kind of leaning, 65% Tiffany, 45% or 35% Charlotte. But, you know, that WWE Women's Championship, you know, that whole title picture as well. You know, ever since that whole thing, you know, Nia Jax, like, you know, basically disappeared. We don't see Trish Stratus on SmackDown anymore. You don't really, you know, Bianca Belair is too consumed with what's happening with Jade and Naomi, and Jade is busy with Naomi. Like, you know, is there anybody besides Charlotte Flair that could represent that SmackDown locker room besides her and Tiffany? At this point, you know, I feel like WWE is kind of using this as a spot to like, okay, let's grow Tiffany. Let's make her look, you know, let's make her look like a formidable, you know, upstage. Let's make her look like a rising star in WWE, which she is super talented, 1,010%. I do feel like she needs work. I do. You know, once when John Cena exposed Roman Reigns, you know, quite some time ago in the middle of the ring, being like, all right, it's a promo, kid. You got to learn how to cut one. I can't leave because you can't do your job. Like, you know, one of those things, and maybe we'll kind of get stuck in the same predicament there. But ultimately, you know, it was a decent promo. Although Tiffany Stratton did kind of seem like a pissed off teenager on the other side of like a FaceTime phone. Like, no, you know, she would constantly like, you know, she'd be interrupting and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, you know, that's cool. Braun Strowman defeats Jacob Fatu by an involuntary disqualification. Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa come in to attack Braun Strowman after Jacob Fatu looking like he's going to lose. We have tension built up between Solo and Jacob. That should be pretty badass. I can't wait to see how that unfolds. LA Knight came out, defended Strowman, looked him dead in the eye. Strowman was like, I'm coming for that. And, you know, it'd be interesting to have Braun Strowman the United States champion. I'm just saying that. Just putting that out loud. Piper Niven taking on Zelina Vega. You know, it was kind of cool to kind of see Alba Fire being out there. I know that both of them are from Scotland, I believe. So, you know, the match was good. You know, it was nice to see Zelina Vega, Zelina's first match on WWE SmackDown kind of go a little bit, you know, it went smooth. It went, you know, pretty damn good. But what happened to the WWE Women's Tag Team division? You know, once when I kind of saw Alba Fire back there, you know, out on the side, like right on the apron, you know, I was like, okay, I'm happy that, you know, Isla Dawn obviously released from WWE, but I was a little concerned. I was like, you know, with Jade and Bianca becoming WWE Women's World Tag Team Champions, you know, right off the bat, I hated it because you have a lot of talent like the Unholy Union, like Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, that could be, you know, something better, like PFC, like Pure Fusion Collective. Like what happened to Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark once when they had a failed thing with Sonya Deville. And, you know, I feel like the women's tag team division, you know, much like the tag team division on WWE Raw on the men's side, you know, it needs help. You know, I know, you know, Jakara Jackson and oh my God, one of my favorite wrestlers, I can't remember her name right now, Jakara Jackson, the Metaphor Girls. I'm just going to say the Metaphor Girls. Last Legend. Damn it. I can't believe I couldn't remember Last Legend. Jakara Jackson and Last Legend obviously doing some work in WWE TNA right now, but that's, you know, NXT. They're building up some superstars like a women's tag team for the future. I would love to see like Spitfire come to WWE and kick ass. That'd be pretty freaking cool. I know Ash and Heller by Elegance right now are enjoying their you know, TNA Knockouts World you know, tag team reigns. So you know, I want to see gold on Jackson and Legend though. I do. You know, I feel like those girls are amazing. Next we have Jade Cargill losing a match against Liv Morgan, basically based on a Naomi attack. You know, she's been such a babyface for so long. You know, the caution tape and all that, you know, it's cool. She looks a little like demonized. She looks, you know, looks dark, you know, looks edgy, looks cool. But I feel like this character change in Naomi is going to be developed heading into WWE WrestleMania. You know, she's been like, you know, this is something that I, you know, kind of had a concern with 1,010% because Jade is just so overpowering. She's just such an amazing talent that, you know, you kind of have that risk of making Naomi look like she can never, ever kind of hang in the ring with her. So this, you know, this was good. We need to have more of this. We have to make Jade not look that powerful. And I know a lot of people be like, oh, you know, Jade at this point looks kind of weak. I like it. I feel like this is great. I feel like overall this is, for the betterment to make that match at WrestleMania between her and Naomi to be like, hey, you know what, Naomi, she might actually be able to do this. So, I'm not mad at how WWE handled it on SmackDown. Street Profits defeat Los Garza, Pretty Deadly, number one contenders. Motor City Machine Guns want to fight DIY. Can't wait to see how that all falls. At the end of SmackDown, we had a confrontation between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. Rollins obviously wanted him and Roman Reigns to write another chapter in their book, but CM Punk coming out reminding that he saved Roman's family's asses. Paul Heyman looked absolutely upset once when he heard CM Punk's music, which was actually pretty badass. CM Punk kind of teasing a character change or like a backstabbing or betrayal of Paul Heyman on Roman Reigns, basically saying how you delivered your tribal chief on a silver platter for me, which made me think, I'm like, all right, so it seems like Paul Heyman and CM Punk aren't really on the same page right now, which I kind of thought they were going to be, but, more exciting, more shocking. All of them fight at separate times, point to the WrestleMania sign. We got it confirmed today on WWE Monday Night Raw. We are going to get a contract signing on SmackDown for this triple threat match. I can't wait to see it. I feel like it is WrestleMania Night 1 main event worthy. But, I don't know. It should be interesting. Next, we have WWE Evolve breakdown. We're going to talk also about the top 10 women in Evolve who are absolutely kicking ass, who will find themselves on the main roster spot, in the future. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 25 seconds. So, hey, do not go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling, all the action inside and outside of the ring, backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the dramas. We talk about superstar inactive statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings. We talk about promotions from WWE to AEW to Ring of Honor to TNA to basically anywhere. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show 1,010%. So without further ado, let's talk about some WWE Evolve. We had another exciting episode 3 of the season on Tubi. I kind of think I like that. I think it's kind of has a nice ring to it. So we had the show start off. We had Brinley Reese of NXT come to fight Mason Holiday, and Mason Holiday 1,010%. Super impressive, although she got the loss. I feel like at this point of WWE Evolve, you've seen a lot of NXT superstars, like Brinley Reese, Tyson and Tyreek, Luca Crucifino, Gallus, and I personally thought Evolve, and I get it, I feel like WWE, you guys, they want to bring in, an audience, so, you have a bunch of, rising stars, no names, kind of go at it, and by all means, I don't mean no names in a derogatory statement. So you have a lot of, young rising stars, so then they bring some NXT known stars to fight, and at this point, I'm like, why? Why? You see the crowd, you see the ratings on Tubi, it's not like you're trying to be the next NXT, and I know that might kind of sound counterintuitive of what they're ultimately trying to establish in WWE Evolved, But like you gotta let the young, you gotta let the young guys and girls kind of get into it, but maybe overall there might be a bigger purpose to it. You do have in some cases, but then Wendy Chu, last week she was able to pick up the dub. But I don't know. I hope later on down the line this makes a little bit more sense. Next we have Gallus taking on Jordan Oasis and Sam Holloway. And Jordan, both of them pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Gallus, once again, NXT stars kind of reaping the benefits of, of the NIL, the ID, the young up-and-comers in WWE. Able to pick up the dub there. Like I said, into it, not really into it, but we're moving on. Layla Diggs taking on Chantel Monroe. Chantel Monroe obviously tore the roof off that place. I thought it was pretty badass. I thought it was pretty cool. Monroe looks like a star, 1,010%, but Layla looked really good as well. So, Layla, kind of reminded me of like a little bit of like a Kaylani Jordan kind of thing. But, she looked good. She looked good. All the girls in the division. And in Evolve, it seems like they are ultimately going to be a part of WWE NXT in the near future. Obviously, probably they were part of like Level Up. So it was good. It was good. Hayes Jamison taking on Callie Armstrong. Callie Armstrong, picking up her her first win of the year. Picking up her first win as a single star. She had that tag team match with Danny Palmer, that first episode of Evolve. So, with the Cali connection, I thought that was a pretty badass for a finishing move. I thought that was super awesome. But ultimately, it was a smash match. It was a smash match, which sucks for Jameson. Which sucks for Jameson, but Armstrong looks like she's right there. She is going to be she's going to be an NXT superstar, and she's going to be there sooner rather than later. Next, we have, Kylie Ray talking about Wendy Chu's notes. And then she throws the note away, doesn't even want to know what Wendy Chu has to say. And then, you see her come on the Titantron just looking at her, which is a little creepy, Obviously, you kind of had her, in spots, on NXT with Tatum Paxley and, and Teenage Rosemary. So, maybe this might be a little bit of a character jump for Kylie Ray. Maybe she kind of digs into like a different, because she kind of seems like that girl next door, that adorable. It kind of reminds me of like a young kind of Bailey, that young wrestling fan that tried out for wrestling. Oh, I love wrestling. I watched it my whole entire life. And then, then she gets possessed by someone like Wendy Chu, and then, has a dark persona where then she turns into like this goth, like a badass and stuff like that. That'd be pretty badass. That'd be pretty cool. Obviously, Zara Zacher was kind of there. Obviously, she defeated Kylie Ray on the second episode of Evolve. Zakar looks absolutely, oh God, she looks amazing. I can't wait to see what she does in the future. But, them having kind of like a mutual, benefit, because Ray has been within the wrestling independence for quite some time. So, Zara obviously picking up all the benefits of, working with an experienced wrestler, having a chance to kind of be in that kind of, in that predicament where, I know, WWE professional wrestling, choreographed, script writed, yada, 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 yada. So, you do have to improvise. Ultimately, you are stuck into these, some certain situations where, someone misses their cues or something happens in the match and you're kind of just like, okay, now I got to think on my feet. And, I feel like Zara already kind of has that down. So, like I said, she's definitely a future talent. Can't wait to see what she does in WWE. Next, we have Draco Knox teaming up with Ty Wilder, taking on Tyson and Tyreek of NXT. Tyson and Tyreek picking up the dub. Like I said, didn't really like it. I absolutely loved Draco Knox. I thought he was super badass. Ty Wilder was pretty cool, but Tyson and Tyreek, once again, NXT stars coming to Evolve, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, because they're not successful in NXT and they never will be successful in NXT, they come down to Evolve to ultimately kind of reap the benefits, trying to show that they are relative in terms of the world of professional wrestling. Definitely not saying that. Not saying that. I'm just kidding. No, moving on. But Tyson and Tyreek, they're cool. But ultimately, Draco Knox was the shining star of the match. Next, we see Swipe Right join ringside in the VIP area with Zeta Steel. Zeta Steel has yet to kind of be a part of the storyline on Evolve. But, basically based on her, she kind of reminds me of like Izzy Dame. Where she has the mic, she has the voice, she has the mic skills to kind of, to ramp up her competition, to make other people, ultimately kind of pissed off. And then Swipe Right is kind of in that same boat as well. The first episode of WWE Evolve, they said that my mother swiped right on their picture, which isn't true. It's not. I'm just kidding. Moving on. No, I thought, it's kind of fun. It's awesome. It's awesome. The Swipe Right, young kids, absolutely super talented. I can't wait to see what they do, more on Evolve. I want to see them fight in the, I want to see them again. Last WWE Evolve main event, we saw Oro Mensah. We saw that Chase U guy, Riley Osborne, and I feel like maybe you could have gotten another match with Swipe Right or something like that, which would have been pretty badass. But it is what it is. Only the third episode, so obviously this is a growing show in terms of WWE. So, maybe they're holding back some of the young talent, getting people, used to the ropes for a couple of episodes, and then maybe they'll start firing off some and letting these kids show exactly what they are capable of, which will ultimately lead them a contract with the big payouts. So, I want to see these guys. I want to see more of the younger guys. Like I do, Carly Bright, Awesome Gallus, Tyson and Tyreek, Wendy Chu. I get why these people, kind of come in and do what they do. But I don't know. Like I said, I want to see the youngins, man. I want to see the young guys. Luca Crucifino defeats Javier Bernal, obviously, two NXT superstars. Luca Crucifino, after the victory, calls out Keanu Carver. And, maybe we'll get a match between them. I want, Keanu Carver, absolutely 1,010% is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the WWE Universe in the future. But, kind of reminds me of like a Powerhouse Hobbs on AEW, how this guy is, but then again, he kind of reminds me of like Swerve. The way that Swerve is projected in AEW obviously wouldn't be where they are right now without the help of Swerve Strickland. Once when Cody Rhodes left, once when CM Punk left as well, and then, Samoa Joe obviously had to drop the title to him. He was going to film. He was filming, what was that video game that turned into a TV series? Can't remember. Twisted Metal. And then, Bryan Danielson on the edge of retiring. Adam Copeland getting injured. Also, MJF injured as well. Adam Cole. And then, it felt like AEW needed someone to step up. And it was ultimately Swerve Strickland. So, I definitely love Keanu Carver. I feel like he has a bright future in WWE. All right, without further ado, let's talk about my top 10 women on Evolve. Definitely these women are going to find themselves on the, on the main roster, also on NXT. I tried my best to kind of steer away from the NXT stars that came down to it, but there's a couple of them in here that I feel like, maybe Evolve is a nice place for them to kind of bounce back on. A lot of Major League Baseball players bounce back and forth, and with the majors and the minors, you got to find your swing. You got to find your, if you're a pitcher, you got to find a strike zone once again. So I have a couple of NXT women's superstars in here, but we have our top 10 women on Evolve that are going to eventually be kicking ass on SmackDown or Raw. NXT definitely. At number 10, I got Mason Holiday. Mason Holiday, although, didn't really pick up the dub, I thought she put on a really good match. I feel like out of all the women that's fought so far, which is, I think about including the NXT stars, probably 13 to 15. So my top 10 seems a little askew, but still, it is what it is. I feel like Mason Holiday does have a feature in, WWE. Danny Palmer, that first tag team match where she tagged with Callie Armstrong. The way she was able to kind of be a little bit of a luchador there, hitting backflips, hitting jumps, that twisted corkscrew, although she did take out her own, her own tag team partner in Armstrong. But, you can tell that this girl throws caution to the wind. Reminds me of a female version of a Jeff Hardy. So, I feel like WWE, they do need that. 1,010%. Layla Diggs, like I said earlier, kind of reminds me of like a Kehlani Jordan kind of thing, like a sweetheart. But no, she's going to be great. Although she didn't pick up the dub, overall, I feel like her future is bright in WWE. Can't wait to see what she does in the future. Next we have Zara. We have no, not Zara. Damn it. No, that's not Kylie Ray. Zeta. Oh my God, sorry. With these whole names and stuff like that, kind of gets me confused a little bit. Zeta Steel, like I said, she has not yet been in a match, but just basically on her mic skills and the way she's getting everybody to kind of ultimately hate her, I feel like she is going to be a great person for WWE Evolve to kind of be like, all right, this girl's gonna kind of be the antagonistic version of like a CM Punk or something like that, or maybe perhaps like I said, maybe like an Izzy Dame. Obviously, you kind of see in her turn her back on Tony D'Angelo, joining the calling like a little bit manipulative, maybe a little bit pestering. Maybe that every wrestling roster needs that star. That's like they kind of play like they don't know how to wrestle, and they kind of play like oh pity me, but at the end of the day, she comes out of the ring kicking ass. So I can see her in that kind of title. Kylie Ray at number 6 here. I feel like she is she's done some work in independence in terms of the world of wrestling, and I feel like she's only going to get better. At number 5, I got Chantel Monroe. Chantel Monroe was absolutely super impressive in her win on WWE Evolve. I definitely like I like the way how she not like a, and I know her name's Chantel, but like a nonchalant kind of, kind of a nonchalant kind of persona. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you love me. I'm in love with myself. I know basically everything that I can bring to the table. I honestly kind of want to see her in the future be a little bit more vocal, kind of like a female version of like an MJF. I kind of looked at her and I kind of did compare her to like a Lash Legend meeting Naomi. Both absolutely super impressive superstars. 1,010%, obviously, future WWE Hall of Famers. But I got Chantel Moore at number 5. At number 4, I got Carly Bright. NXT superstar, she's been on WWE, not WWE, she's been on TNA as well. So, she's building up her repertoire. I feel like she could be, a main star on the NXT roster, especially if you look at the women's division on SmackDown. You have Bianca chasing Jade chasing Naomi, Nia Jax kind of parading around with Candice LeRae, and with Charlotte Flair returning, and it feels like at this point Tiffany Stratton, the WWE Women's Champion, needs it needs more depth, and so does the WWE Women's United States Championship. I honestly feel like you had Chelsea Green defend her championship against Michin like 3 or 4 times. Enough is enough. And Chelsea Green now has her cabinet with Piper Niven and Alba Fire. I feel like WWE SmackDown could probably absorb like 3 or 4 NXT women's superstars. 1,010%. Maybe like Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Zarya, Soruka, the Metaphor Girls. I feel like they could definitely revamp that. And where is the women's tag team division? So, where it's non-existent. And, you had Alba Fire join Chelsea Green in her cabinet, basically destroying the unholy union. Sonya Deville was recently released along with Isla Dawn. Whereas, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, where's Katana Chance and Kaden Carter? Like, this division needs to be revamped. And Carly Bright could definitely be a pivotal piece, in NXT to kind of fill in that void where, you see somebody like the superstars that I mentioned from NXT making it onto SmackDown. At number 3, I have, Zakara. I feel like this girl is an absolute bombshell. Defeated Kylie Ray in her first match on WWE Evolve. I feel like this girl is going to be a future WWE NXT Women's World Champion. I am super high on her. I feel like she's 1,010% amazing. No one's going to stop this girl. Obviously, knock on wood, to pray to the gods that, no injuries happen, because injuries suck. But, and hopefully I didn't just put it out there. Oh, God, I'm going to, Number two, I got Kendall Gray. Kendall Gray, another WWE NXT superstar, making her way to Evolve. I love the fact that she's like an in-your-face, like I'm better than you kind of talent. I love the fact that, she could be a heel champion. She could be a first ever heel, WWE Evolve champion. I ultimately, and it's crazy how we had that first women's tag team match with, when she teamed up with Kylie Bright, taking on Callie Armstrong and Danny Palmer. I saw her and Armstrong. I was like, oh my God, these two are going to be fighting for that belt. These two women are going to be fighting for that WWE Evolve Women's Championship to earn a roster spot on NXT, with Armstrong coming out on top. Speaking of Armstrong, number one, Callie Armstrong. First, woman in Evolve to kind of have two matches. So maybe that puts her a little bit ahead. She's 1-1, but she's 1-0 in singles. In singles competition, her on the mic, her cutting promos, her kind of, her taking over the show is 1,010% why she's number one. She comes out into the commentaries, Stone, Peter Rosenberg, like she cuts them off. She cuts off a promo with, with Jameson. Like she doesn't care. She wants to be successful. She wants to be the new flavor of WWE. If you don't like her, guess what? Too bad. You're going to have to take her because she's going to force her talent. She's going to force basically everything she learned. She has a MMA, she has a combat sports background. I think they said in the first episode she's been fighting since she was like 12 earlier, 10 maybe. Like that's insane. That's insane, 1,010%. And Callie Armstrong, I would love to see her on the WWE main roster. A lot of these women absolutely is the backbone of WWE and NXT. And imagine you kind of have these young, talented superstars in the women's division that are going to come onto SmackDown and Raw. It's going to be I feel like it's going to be like a tsunami of talent to the point where once when you kind of you see Bayley, Becky Lynch, even Charlotte Flair kind of being pushed out of the way a little bit. And you're going to have a lot of these amazing female superstars totally kick ass and take names and become the face of WWE. And the Wheaties boxes aren't going to be, reserved for Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes anymore. It's going to be made for these amazing women on the roster. So definitely can't wait to see that happen in the future. All right, we talked about Evolve and our top 10 women coming up in Evolve, and now we're going to talk about ECW legend, WWE Hall of Famer Rob Van Dam's missed opportunities in WWE. We're going to talk about that, so grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 25 seconds. So hey, do not go absolutely anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Alright, and we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button. 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. Here to talk about the greatest thing in the world of professional wrestling. We talk about all the action inside and outside the ring. Backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the drama, all the conspiracy theories in terms of storytelling and for professional wrestling. We talk about WWE, AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan Professional Wrestling. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show, 1,010%. We talk about all the superstars are inactive, their injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings. So like I said, make sure you guys subscribe to an amazing wrestling podcast who want to know what you guys ultimately think about professional wrestling. Like I said, drop anything you guys want inside that chat box. Can't wait to get on into it. So without further ado, we're going to talk about some Rob Van Dam. One of my favorite wrestlers, man. He was great. I honestly, 1,010%, one of my favorite wrestlers to watch. He was popular before he made it to WWE. He was popular before, ECW, this whole WCW invasion. ECW definitely had a rising star. Definitely had a prophet, had something that was the prodigy that was Rob Van Dam. But obviously what you guys see in the title right there, his missed opportunities was it kind of sucks, a little haggard, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So he was mostly known for, in the name of professional wrestling, he wanted to he defeated John Cena for the WWE Championship at ECW One Night Stand in 2006, which is something that I felt like, and I remember watching it when I was younger, and he came in, Mr. Money in the Bank. I feel like ultimately the Money in the Bank match was created for Rob Van Dam to kind of be WWE's next guy. And I'm not too sure if you guys are gonna, you understand that. With the ladders and with the high flying and the risk and stuff like that, he was Mr. Pay-Per-View. He was Mr. Pay-Per-View. That was, Mr. Money. He was gonna get people to pay for, tickets to get the damn butts in the seats. That's something Rob Van Dam did super well. In his younger years, he was I recently watched the WWE like not Untold, oh my god, like a documentary, I guess, about his life. And he started out not like a lot of people kind of, he had like a jiu-jitsu background, and according to like his trainer, like he wanted him to get into kickboxing, but he ultimately wanted to pursue professional wrestling. I guess he hooked up with Sabu, and he actually taught Sabu how to hit a backflip, which is super cool. That's pretty badass. He was told that he looked like Jean-Claude Van Damme, or Jean-Claude. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. He kind of made this spiel that he was his cousin, and I guess at that point, you kind of got to do what you got to do. No, but Rob Van Dam, he came onto the independent wrestling scene. He came onto the wrestling scene as one of the most talented superstars you would ever see perform in this word circle. And I mean that. I mean that 1,010%. Because, WWE, once when you had John Cena, taking on RVD, ECW territory, it was crazy. It was you saw signs out there being like, John Cena wins, we will riot. A lot of people were concerned for the safety of John Cena as well. But, RVD, he did miss ECW One Night Stand in 2005 because of an injury. But I definitely love the fact that Rob Van Dam was able to kind of defeat John Cena. And John Cena was kind of deemed at this point, like, not unbeatable. Well, I guess you can say unbeatable. He was like the golden boy of WWE. He was like the Hulk Hogan and stuff like that. Imagine somebody from WCW coming in to defeat Hulk Hogan, or somebody from the NWA. Once when he left, obviously before, once when he was a WWF superstar, and he was head over heels. He was 1,010% gun ho about being a part of WWE. I feel for Rob Van Dam because, kind of sucks. He was supposed to be the top guy in ECW once when they kind of, revamped it. And I remember watching that. I kind of thought it was, I kind of thought it was dumb. You had Balls Mahoney, then you had a late night poker night with the Divas, and Kelly, the exhibitionist who wanted to walk around naked. And Knox was, her boyfriend, and be like, oh no, cover her up. And it'd be like, oh, ECW is so crazy. But I feel like it was mainstream. I feel like it was WWE-atized, if that makes sense. Obviously jumping into that PG-13, a lot of the ECW fans were expecting this new thing in ECW that was supposed to be what it was when they wrestled in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the 2300 Arena. They were expecting something like that, but instead they would just get basically like a WWE sideshow. with all the, obviously a young rising star that was like, CM Punk. As well, you had the Big Show dethroning Rob Van Dam of that ECW World Heavyweight Championship because he got busted. He was with Sabu when he got pulled over by police being in possession of marijuana, which is kind of crazy because, recently marijuana has been legalized in WWE. Well, not legalized, but like you can't really get busted for it, and I know as of right now, he does run a cannabis company. So, why don't he gets into business with like some wrestlers, like a lot of wrestlers, like, pain pills, opioids and stuff like that. I know nowadays with the wellness policy that is, the WWE, it's not too like, and I feel like they do take it easy on their wrestlers more or less. They, they've limited the travel schedule. They don't really let people like, Blade, it's called blading, like Blade anymore. They don't let them, basically fight senseless matches on Raw or SmackDown. That includes like hardcore, putting your body through this excruciating amount of pain. So they protect their wrestlers 1,010% better, so they don't have to kind of reach out for that thing. But medicinal marijuana, something in terms of, cannabis, edibles, or however you got to kind of like sativa or indica or whatever you want to say. I feel like RVD can make a quick buck, kind of coming in partnership with like some of the wrestling promotions and stuff like that. But I feel like still from an outside perspective, as a lot of people do, and I feel like it's just the name in itself, I mean, like, marijuana bad, like, what I mean, compared to all the other drugs out there. And I know in terms, no term like substitutions and be like, oh, marijuana's marijuana, people believe it's like a gateway drug. I'm neither here to argue that, neither here nor there, but I'm here to talk about wrestling. But overall, that's the reason why RVD was busted. He came to the locker room. Vince McMahon looked him dead in the eye. He's like, you're going to lose the WWE Championship. He lost in a triple threat match, John Cena and Edge. You're going to lose the ECW World Championship that was gifted to him because of all the years he held ECW on his back. Got busted, served a 1-month suspension during the height of WWE trying to establish this new ECW thing, this revamp, and it was just bad. It was just kind of dead in the water before it even began. And, Rob Van Dam was that damn important, which means one thing. WWE was willing to put a lot of time, was willing to put a lot of effort into making Rob Van Dam their, like, that poster guy. That poster guy. And not just for ECW. I feel like they wanted to do it for Raw. I feel like they wanted to do it for SmackDown for generations to come. But, based on, what happened, obviously, based on the love that Rob Van Dam received, during the suspension, then coming back being like, hey, man, that was a little harsh, And a lot of WWE talent and promoters wanted Rob Van Dam to kind of take in this, you're holding a championship belt. We want to see you be a little bit more white collar. We want to see you be a little bit more of not like a baby face. I want to see you more as like a serious champion, because a lot of people found out that sometimes he would wrestle under the influence of marijuana. A lot of cutting promos, he was that what's going to ultimately get people to want to challenge a champion if he looks into the camera, smiles, and he's like, hey man, it's all good, RVD. No, and that's great. And fans, based on the talent that Rob Van Dam had inside the ring, fans didn't care. Fans could care less. They're like, dude, okay, we don't want to see. And Rob Van Dam said this in an interview as well. People were constantly whispering in his ear, like, you should do this, you should do that. And he was like, no, man, that's not what I'm about. That's not why people are buying tickets to see me. That's not why people are ultimately trying to invest in this product that is the WWE. Former ECW fans basically putting their wrestling fandom into the hands of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, which anything in his hands, obviously. I'm just kidding. No, moving on. Rob Van Dam, I feel like he definitely 1,010. He could have been. But no, he's a WWE Hall of Famer, obviously. And it's, you made the WWE Hall of Fame. Yeah, ooh, whoop-de-doo, that's cool and all. I feel like Rob Van Dam wanted more, and he ultimately kind of went into a downward spiral, after, everything was going down with his wrestling career, injuries and stuff like that. He felt like he lost his spirit. He lost his father. He lost a lot of what made himself. He lost, and I hate to quote this Shawn Michaels promo, but he lost his smile. He lost his smile. And then, then he got, divorced and stuff like that. And then, he literally, he said, like I said in an interview, he literally said he had to be basically broken down to become something that was better for himself, if that makes sense. And he did it. He did it 1,010%. He came back. He's still wrestling here and there. He has a new wife that, he definitely, 1,010% future. He's a Grand Slam champion. I feel like Rob Van Dam still had a lot left in the tank once when he left WWE in 2007. Working in the Indies for quite some time, winding up in TNA. I just, like I said, it is what it is. And then Rob Van Dam, embracing that heel thing, pulling an Edge and Lita, having that live sex celebration, which banned TNA from Twitch, which is, pretty bad. What is kind of interesting, I'm going to bring this up real quick because I'm a huge fan of Sub-Zero on Mortal Kombat. How once when he wanted to wrestle in WCW under the name Glacier, I feel like that'd be badass. That'd be pretty cool. Imagine Glacier. I'm just kidding, no. But ultimately, I feel like Rob Van Dam, although he has had an illustrious wrestling career, 1,010%, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, I feel like he had a lot left in the tank when he left WWE in 2007. Because of what happened with him getting busted, I feel like maybe he could have, been something a little bit better, a little bit more in WWE. And by all means, that's not trying to, paint a negative persona or a negative perspective on the career that was Rob Van Dam. But I don't know. I loved him so much. I want to see that guy like a five-time WWE champion. That would have been that would have been pretty badass. I would have loved to see Rob in that kind of a picture or whatever. All right, we got our fifth and final segment. We got Ireland's national treasure, Becky Lynch, and we have we have wrestlers who might miss the grandest stage of them all. Join me here in 20 seconds. Grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 20 seconds. So, hey, do not go anywhere. And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, here to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling. We talk about all the action inside and outside the ring, all the backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the drama, all the conspiracy theories that we love to think about in terms of storyline, especially heading to WrestleMania. I can't wait. This is going to be one of my favorite, one of the most best WrestleManias heading up. So, I can't wait to see it. I do feel like it needs a couple more matches, though, and I am going to do a segment based on, maybe some matches are going to be added to WrestleMania. But as of right now, I'm super excited. Can't wait to watch. We are 26 days away from the best, greatest sports spectacle in the world of sports entertainment. Better than the Super Bowl, better than the World Series, better than the NBA championships, the Stanley Cups. The World Cup actually might probably be in the same boat of WWE because of how much of a global phenomenon that is, the World Wrestling Entertainment. So without further ado, we're going to talk about Ireland's national treasure and others who might miss WrestleMania. All right, so let's go and start off, guys. First and foremost, happy belated St. Paddy's Day. Last Monday, I did run into some technical difficulties. Gotta love living in Southern California. How one day it'll be 85 degrees and the next day it will be windy as hell, gusts. Those Santa Ana winds. Gusts from 40 to 50 miles an hour, and then it totally blows the crap out of your internet reception, and you're like, screw me, and you're like, okay, great, awesome, that's should be fantastic. I hope that you guys had definitely hope you guys had a great time, had a nice green ice cold beverage, didn't say the B word, a nice cold root beer. Make sure you guys, had a nice green root beer to celebrate St. Paddy's Day. And if you're at a bar and if you got if you got offered a drink from somebody, obviously, that's something that you see in St. Paddy's Day. But first and foremost, just, if you see a guy with a pot of gold with a green jacket, always kind of think to yourself, you're like, all right, just definitely gotta, if he offers you a drink, just make sure you see how they pour it. I'm just kidding. No, moving on. So, it is a year ago from St. Paddy's Day that Becky Lynch was invited to the White House, which is actually super freaking cool. She joined the Irish Prime Minister, also the WWE president, the former United States President Joe Biden, in, basically into this celebration that was, everything that was in St. Paddy's Day. 1,010%. She was there to talk about her book, not the man. What is it? It is Not Your Average Girl. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't. Oh, damn it. But something that I love about Becky Lynch is that when you saw her come to WWE with her tryouts and stuff like that, when she signed a developmental deal back in 2013, a lot of people kind of thought that I don't really see Becky Lynch kind of doing that. You know what I mean? 1,010%. But she was able to kind of hang with like Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. She was obviously back in NXT. And a lot of future storylines with Becky Lynch coming back to WWE, I feel like will filter through Liv Morgan or Raquel Rodriguez, because Liv Morgan was the last girl she faced. Obviously steel cage match, thanks to freaking dirty Dominic Mysterio. Liv Morgan was able to retain that Women's World Heavyweight Championship in that steel cage match. That was the last time we saw Big Time Bex. And but then again, she could be teaming up with like her fellow Celtic Warrior, with Lyra Valkyria to take on the WWE Women's World, champions. But something that I definitely love about Becky Lynch, she went back down to NXT and didn't really kind of see it as like, not neither here nor there, like not like a demotion at all. Lyra Valkyria was she was able to kind of dethrone Becky Lynch of that Women's NXT Championship, kind of propelling her to like a future of greatness. I feel like Becky Lynch, maybe if she makes her way onto the WWE SmackDown roster, maybe she could take on somebody like Chelsea Green. 1,010%. I could see that happening. Her becoming the new Women's United States Championship. Although, recently with the addition of Alba Fire, and of course with Piper Niven, Chelsea Green looks unstoppable right now. So, I would love to see Becky Lynch kind of make a storyline coming to WrestleMania. But come on, guys, let's all be serious. Let's all look each other in the mirror, and guess what, guys? It's not going to happen. And I hate it. 26 days. 26 days left till Becky Lynch comes, till WrestleMania. And, when Becky comes back, I don't really want to see her, like, force into this awkward, although, we will be graced by her presence for wrestling fans. I would love her in anything. But, do you really want to kind of see her come in and be like, oh, a mystery tag team partner? Who is it? Oh, and then, that would be cool. That'd be awesome. It's a WrestleMania moment. But, I was kind of hoping she had a storyline by then. I was kind of hoping that maybe she would be, contending for a title, but, I guess we all, what is that, the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want. You won't see Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. But yeah, we're not going to see Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, which breaks my heart and sucks. But it is what it is, and we're going to have to live with it. So a couple of names that I was kind of, looking over, and I was like, who's going to miss their ticket to Las Vegas, Nevada, fighting at WrestleMania 41 at the Allegiant Stadium in the entertainment capital of the world that is Viva Las Vegas. I think you guys heard enough of me singing for tonight. So we're going to move on. But what other stars might miss out on WrestleMania? For me personally, I, a lot of these superstars, kind of do, it concerns me. It concerns me 1,010%. First and foremost, I got Braun Strowman. I don't know why I don't know why they're having that United States Championship on SmackDown next week. I feel like that is that is a big match. I feel like Jacob Fatu will get involved, Solo Sikoa, and then maybe we might have a Fatal 4-Way match. That's the only way I feel like maybe, Solo walks away with the belt, then thus creating some, or Jacob walks away, creating some jealousy amongst this new young bloodline. That storyline kind of seems a little dead in the water right now, so it needs a little bit of a revamp. And what does that better than a title win? But then again, like if you had LA Knight win the championship from Logan Paul to drop it to Shinsuke Nakamura, who literally did nothing with it, only for it to come back to LA Knight and him losing it in 26 days, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know. It feels like I want to see something. I want to see something like this. I would rather see Braun Strowman taking on Jacob Fatu, and just like a regular fight, and which kind of sucks because then who's LA Knight going to fight at WrestleMania? I'm not too sure. But obviously this narrative of Braun Strowman taking on Jacob Fatu is flooded by the gates of conspiracy theories, including myself. I kind of thought this was going to happen by WrestleMania. You see tensions boiling on SmackDown between the Samoan Werewolf and Solo Sikoa, and we're going to get this match. Maybe the Bloodline Rules match would be pretty badass. Bayley, I got Bayley. Is Bayley gonna find herself inside WrestleMania 41? Recently she helped Lyra Valkyria after being attacked by Liv Morgan and Ricardo Rodriguez on WWE's Monday Night Raw. But no, I heard back, according to reports, she's going to take on Roxanne Perez. They're going to start their feud pretty soon. According to reports, I've definitely read it. I would absolutely love this for Roxanne Perez. I want to see her on the main roster. I want to see her on SmackDown. I got to be honest. On Raw and SmackDown, they need a flood of superstars. I talked about this on my WWE Evolve segment. You could literally, every talent that they have on NXT right now, you could put about 3 to 5 stars on SmackDown and Monday Night Raw each in the women's division. That's how much they desperately needed. The Women's World Tag Team division right now is shot. The WWE Intercontinental Women's Championship, love Lyra Valkyria, but it lacks depth. And, recently with the addition of Alba Fire in that cabinet that is Piper Niven and the WWE Women's United States Champion Chelsea Green, that created a little bit there, but you could definitely put a lot of talented superstars on there. But, who knows? Nia Jax might miss WrestleMania, obviously dropping the belt to Tiffany Stratton once when she cashed in. I don't really have too much high hopes for Nia Jax making a WrestleMania, but there's only one thing that kind of makes sense. You had Trish Stratus kind of talk about, before she even made her way back to WWE to fight in Toronto in Elimination Chamber, she spoke in an interview basically saying that she would love to make a comeback in WWE, wouldn't want to take over any of the opportunities that the young girls have because, you don't want to be that person, especially at her age. But at her age, she looks absolutely phenomenal. She looks like she could, she looks like she can have her second win there. I would love to see her compete for a women's mid-card title. Main card title, maybe. But, she mentioned in an interview that she would love to be thrown around the ring like a rag doll by Nia Jax. So this might be something that we might get at WrestleMania. Maybe, sort of, not really. But, it is what it is. Finn Balor, the Judgment Day as of right now seems like it's kind of not really going anywhere. Dominic Mysterio is pressing for another member to kind of revamp it. And right now, I've always been high on Finn Balor. I think he's an amazing champion. I feel like he's an amazing, the demon persona that has not been unleashed in, when was the last time the demon was here? Oh my God, I can't even think about it. Oh, see, that means it's way too long. I want to see the Demon Finn Balor, but I know that WWE wants this to happen. You know, last 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Raw, he called Dominic Mysterio, "You snake." And then, on tonight's, Monday Night Raw, he looked like he was going to actually hit Dominic Mysterio with a chair, but then ultimately giving it to him to attack Braun Breaker. Finn Balor wants that WWE Intercontinental Championship. He does. And I want to see him with the title. I do. But as of right now, with the Judgment Day, I kind of ultimately feel like it's a lost cause. Next, we have Rey Mysterio, the luchador, the leader of the LWO, might miss out on the grandest stage of them all. Maybe a tag team match, perhaps. Maybe I can see him in a tag team match, but other than that, I'm not too sure. Alexa Bliss, because of the injury that was to Bo Dallas of the Wyatt Six, I feel like maybe that kind of altered it a little bit, and I'll kind of put them in the same picture there. I feel like Alexa Bliss, you've seen her when she came out in the Royal Rumble. She was paying homage to the late, great Bray Wyatt. And, you kind of saw her at Elimination Chamber, kind of being that, like, not like a possessed doll. It feels like she does have that persona still kind of ultimately, kind of forged in her character that is WWE. There's only one thing that makes sense at this point. And, once you saw Alexa come back, you haven't really seen her on SmackDown besides backstage promos with, Nia Jax and Candice LeRae and Whoop-De-Doo. But, I want to see more from her. I want to see her come. I want to definitely see her come to WrestleMania and kick ass. I want to see her come in fruition. I want to see her come to WrestleMania to be a part of the Wyatt Six and, just basically kind of be that person that we all want her to be. Because when she came back to WWE, we all thought that she was going to be intrigued. She was going to be involved with the Wyatt Six. Obviously, right now, it kind of seems like it's, to no avail. But when she was cutting that backstage with Nia Jax, you saw that, the Wyatt Six, the QR code or whatever. And, so which once again teases the fact that she's probably going to be on the Wyatt Six. Next, we have Penta El Zero Miedo. I feel like he will be in WrestleMania. I do feel like I want to see him in a tag team match. I want to see Rey Fenix. I want to see Rey Fenix come to WWE to help out Penta. Maybe, the episode of Monday Night Raw. Maybe you have the War Raiders being attacked by the Judgment Day or being attacked by somebody. Penta comes out, helps the War Raiders, and the War Raiders in gratitude, being like, okay, thank you for helping us out. We will give you a title shot. But you don't have a tag team partner. And then Penta's like, don't worry about that. I have a tag team partner. And then bam, out comes Rey Fenix, the Lucha Brothers. Fight at WrestleMania would be pretty badass. Celtic Warrior Sheamus. Sheamus might miss WrestleMania, most likely to miss WrestleMania. I don't really see him really kind of getting to a storyline anytime soon to kind of make it onto the grandest stage of them all. But hey, who knows? Carmelo Hayes. I feel like him and Sheamus will be part of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, like Braun Strowman, like maybe Jacob Fatu, maybe perhaps. But as of right now, I don't see Carmelo Hayes inside of The Miz as well. Maybe him and Melo are in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. A-Town Down Under, Austin Theory, Grayson Waller will miss WrestleMania, which sucks because, like I said, all talented superstars on the WWE roster. Not hating on anybody, not at all whatsoever. I just, I'm a realist. I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you guys had a great time. Remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Once again, hope you guys had a beautiful weekend with you and your loved ones. If I haven't made you a fan of professional wrestling yet, we have all other shows on the GSMC Sports Podcast, so make sure you guys check those out. Follow us on Twitter /X, whatever you like to call it. Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for more content and updates. And like I always say, GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 1,010% of the time. But in terms of talking sports, it's it's inevitable. There's going to be some criticisms. There's going to be some disagreements. So make sure during the shows you guys comment. Tell us how you feel after the videos are published. If you watch them, leave a comment. We will definitely respond to you guys ASAP. Once again, hope you guys have an amazing, beautiful night. Have a beautiful Monday. Dang, hope you guys have a beautiful week. Can't wait to see you all again. Stay beautiful, but most importantly, love you.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit and the